Mamadou Sarr. And to be honest with you, I'm just going to be a little bit sort of cheeky here. I don't think it was a very difficult deal to do because he plays for Strasbourg, and Strasbourg are obviously a parent club of Chelsea. But he's 19 years old, he's 6'4", he's a really commanding centre-back who can also play as a defensive midfielder, has done really, really well for Strasbourg, and now he's made the move from Strasbourg to Chelsea, I think in a deal worth around £12 million. I think he's the first player that's moved from Strasbourg to Chelsea.
When you say parent, do you mean sister club?
Sister club, sorry.
Yeah,
sorry.
Chelsea fans will be going mad.
Yeah, they're both owned by Bluecoat, who obviously owned by Todd Boehly and also Clearlake Capital.
Now, we've been talking Mike Mannion and Jamie Gittins. Any movement on those deals?
I think both of them want to move to Chelsea, especially Mike Maignan. 1 year left on his contract at AC Milan. AC Milan are looking for €25 million. Chelsea are not going to pay that. I think Chelsea have let it be known, we will pay €15 million. That's £12.5 million. The player, I think, has made it clear to Milan, I want out, I want to leave. If you don't let me go to Chelsea, I'm just going to run down my contract and leave on a free transfer. Gittins, I think, another one who really wants to move to Chelsea. I think Chelsea's position is that, yes, we're very interested in signing the player, but the numbers have to be right. With him, I'm not sure there's a real race to get it done before tomorrow night, 7 p.m. deadline. If it's done, he'll play for Chelsea in the Club World Cup. If it isn't done, he'll play for Borussia Dortmund in the Club World Cup. But Chelsea have quite a lot of targets in his position, but definitely they like the player a lot. OK,
no rush for Chelsea. Let's talk Man City then, Dharmesh. Are they in a race against time to get Ryan Cherki over the line so he can go out to America?
I mean, as Carve mentioned, they're race against time, yes, because the deadline is tomorrow, but I think they're pretty comfortable and relaxed with the situation with a number of their signings ahead of this deadline. They've agreed a £34 million deal with Lyon for Ryan Cherki. They hope to have his medical tied up, his personal terms signed off in time for him to be part of their squad for that Club World Cup. He's had a really impressive season for Lyon. You'll remember he scored in both legs in that epic quarter-final against Manchester United in the Europa League. And in all, he scored 12 goals and 20 assists for Lyon last season. So you can see why Manchester City have been targeting this player.
Scored that cracking goal for France as well, didn't he, the other day? Right, Carve, so say they miss the deadline. During the tournament, explain how there's another opportunity to get players in.
Yeah, normally during big tournaments, World Cup, Euros, once the tournament starts, you can't add players to your squad. But FIFA are really bending over backwards to try and make sure that as many big names play in this Club World Cup as possible. So even if you miss the deadline tomorrow night to sign players and register them for the Club World Cup, FIFA have introduced a mid-tournament window. So during the Club World Cup, after the group stages are finished, there is a registration period that's going to open from the 27th of June to the 3rd of July. So during that period, for clubs who are in the Club World Cup, they can register players for that tournament. So even if clubs like Manchester City and Chelsea miss out on signing players before 7 p.m. tomorrow night, it doesn't necessarily mean that they won't be able to play in the Club World Cup. Because if they get through the group stages, which I'm pretty sure they will, then they could register them mid-tournament.
All right.
How many windows are there?
How many? Enough.
I know, it's just FIFA are absolutely desperate to make sure that as many players as possible play in the Club World Cup, which is why they've created this mini transfer window and they've created this mid-tournament registration period. OK,
well, this first window, City hoping to get Cherki over the line. What's the story with Ait Nouri and Reinders?
Both really, really close now. Both have had their medicals over the weekend. Let's start with Rayan Ait Nouri. We think that the fee is an initial £31 million and that will rise to £36.3 million depending on performance-related add-ons. Interestingly, his former club, the French club Angers, they inserted a 50% sell-on clause, which is incredible when they sold him to Wolves. However, in return, Wolves actually inserted their own kind of buyback of that clause. I've heard so many add-ons, performance-related conditions, all of this kind of thing, sell-on clauses. I haven't heard this one. Wolves can actually buy that clause for £9.7 million, so they don't have to pay that 50% of the fee, which we expect them to do, and this deal will go through. Reinders, meanwhile, he's expected to join City. That's an initial £46.9 million, and that could rise to around £58 million. So expect Šeško, Ait Nouri and Reinders perhaps all to be in the squad for the FIFA Club World Cup for City.
On that note, we're going to take a break. When we come back, we're going to talk now. We have said window after window after window. Are they going to get a striker? Are they going to get a striker?
They're certainly going to try. And this man, Benjamin Šeško, is high on their list. I'm told that initial talks are now taking place between Arsenal and RB Leipzig over Šeško. They're understood, or Arsenal, to be exploring the conditions of a deal, because whereas before there might have been a release clause, it's our understanding it's not as simple as that now. So RB Leipzig can basically charge what they feel they want. And I think they're basing their valuation, like some other clubs do, by comparing what other strikers are going for. So they might look at the likes of Hugo Ekitike and Alexander Isak and say, well, if they're worth that much, then Benjamin Šeško will be worth this much. And we think, according to Sky in Germany, it's around 80 million it's going to cost Arsenal. But it's clear, if there's no release clause, Arsenal can go into talks as a starting point for negotiation. So they will try and bring that price down. Now, as far as Leipzig are concerned, Šeško is very relaxed about his situation there, and he's not going to rock the boat. That said, he's attracted by the prospect of a potential move to Arsenal and playing in the Champions League, which RB Leipzig won't have next season. And it's not just him that Arsenal are looking at, because we have been talking for many windows about strikers that they have been interested in. And internally, they will still discuss the likes of the man we've mentioned before in Victor Gyökeres. But Šeško, it seems, is climbing up that list as far as Arsenal are concerned.
Kaveh, when we asked about Arsenal and their striker, they briefed, didn't they? And they told us, no, we're going to wait until we get the right striker. Is Benjamin Šeško for £80 million the right striker?
I don't think Arsenal would pay that much for him, and even if they did, it would be in instalments. Potentially, he could be the answer to what they're looking for. He's one of the best young strikers in Europe. He's proved himself. Arsenal have been watching him very, very closely for a long time. I think he's still 22, so he would have resale value as well, whereas Gyökeres, I think, has just turned 27. So that wouldn't necessarily be the case with him.
Couldn't they fall into the Højlund trap, though, of spending a lot of money on potential?
Good question. All I would say is, personally, last summer when we were reporting on Højlund, there was a few people here who work with us who'd been out to Italy and watched Højlund play, and they weren't that impressed with him, and they couldn't really understand why United were paying that much for him. I hadn't watched Højlund before he came to United. With Šeško, I can say personally I have seen him play. I saw him play last summer for Slovenia against England, and I wasn't that impressed, but only because he didn't do much, because Slovenia were defending for 90 minutes. He did a lot off the ball as well. But from what I've seen and what other people will have watched on clips or watching games in the Bundesliga, he looks like a fantastic young player. And he looks like a player who could really develop working under Mikel Arteta at Arsenal. And I think if I was an Arsenal fan, I would be very excited about the prospect of him becoming an Arsenal player.
I think that's what Kaveh says there about development. That's what Arsenal will look at as well, and any club will look at when they're going to spend big money on a player. They will see Šeško maybe as having a really high ceiling, given his age and his development so far at Leipzig. They've probably seen something, Arsenal, to think, well, yeah, his record goals-wise has been beaten by other players in the Bundesliga, admittedly, but if he was to come into this team, these are the kind of chances we'd be creating. and these are the number of goals maybe he could get at Arsenal, because they see his potential as being a lot higher than maybe some of their other targets.
Sure. And to be fair to Højlund joined a team who were having one of their worst ever seasons in the top flight, where Šeško would be moving, if he moves to Arsenal, would be moving to a really top class team who may be just a striker away from winning the title.
And I think the difference between Šeško and Højlund as well, Højlund, you say, was joining a struggling team, but also he was expected to lead the line for Manchester United. Šeško is going to be joining a club where there's a lot of experience in the forward areas already, and a lot of Premier League experience in the forward areas already. So if they wanted to just like ease him in, if they were to buy him, they'd be able to do that. I don't think United kind of had that option because there were no other strikers there.
And I still think there's a very good chance that Højlund will come good. He's a very young player. United had a terrible season. He wasn't at his best. But that doesn't mean that in the future he's not going to develop and show everybody what he's capable of.
And who knows, if Gyökeres was to join United, would he be the perfect player to come into United with experience to help Højlund along?
Sure. As you can tell, a lot to talk about.
Bubbling along. He's expected to have a medical soon, is what I've been told, at Arsenal. Everything about that deal looks like it's done. A £51 million release clause, which Arsenal will pay, and the personal terms have been agreed in principle. So once he gets his medical, it's expected that he will become an Arsenal player. I think they still want to keep Thomas Partey to Arsenal. There have been interest via his representatives from clubs in Saudi and in Europe, because he's a free agent as it stands very, very soon. Come the end of June, he's going to be out of contract at Arsenal. But negotiations are continuing between Arsenal and his representatives about extending that deal, because Arsenal do definitely want to keep him. As far as other forward areas go, we do know that there's an interest, which has got a lot of Arsenal fans excited, in Real Madrid's Rodrigo.
Yeah.
Now, as it stands, he's expected to be part of Real Madrid's squad for the FIFA Club World Cup. Thereafter, let's see what can happen. But again, like I've been saying with United and with Arsenal, he's just one of a number of players that they're looking at in that specific area. But I think what might attract Arsenal about Rodrigo is the fact that he can play along the front line. I know predominantly he's been playing on the right, and people will say, well, how's he going to oust someone like Bukayo Saka from the team? But he can play in the centre and he can play on the left as well.
OK. I want to talk Joe